So, good afternoon. Yeah, I'm here to discuss with you on friendship as the necessary platform for love. Because sometimes we get discouraged when we say we love you, I love you. What does that mean? And then we get worried when the next person doesn't love us the much we think they should love us. So what is missing there? And today we just read 1 Corinthians chapter 13 verse 4 to 5, which is the famous passage about love according to St. Paul. Love is patient, love is kind. So the way I think about friendship as a very necessary instrument that showcases how we love, or for love to flourish, I tend to think about spice, the food, what we use for food. You know, me gusta mucho comer. I like to eat. So I like to use examples like that. But think of a spice, and they tell you if you add this spice to this food, it will be sweet, delicious. So the spice is true in itself and it does what it says it will do. But if there is no platform, if there's nothing to showcase how delicious that spice is, it remains just a spice. So when we marry and love, when we come together to marry, love tells us what to do and what not to do, because God is love. And because He is the foundation and the one who originates love and marriage. When He says, let us make man and woman in our own image, and when He says, it is not good for a man to be alone, let us make a helper, He establishes the foundation that we experience and enjoy today, the foundation of the sacrament of marriage. So love becomes the foundation and the platform. Friendship becomes the foundation and the platform in which love will flourish. So I would like us to look at friendship before Christianity.
Él está hablando sobre la amistad. Ya hablamos sobre la escritura y él dice que a veces cuando decimos te amo a otra persona, a veces como que nos preocupamos cuando esa otra persona no nos responde de la misma manera. Tenemos que saber que el amor es paciente. Ayer hablamos mucho sobre la paciencia del amor. Él también hace muchas de las actividades que él hace y de las pláticas que él habla. Él habla casi siempre, hace la asimilación con la comida. En este caso, él habló sobre el condimento. Sabe que nosotros los hispanos hacemos mucho condimento, que si el adobo, el sofrito, la cebolla, todo eso, ¿verdad? Eso para darle el sabor a la comida. Entonces, cuando la comida tiene todo ese condimento, es sabrosa, es deliciosa. Nosotros pues nos encantamos comer comida así. Pero cuando no hay nada, y solamente más que tenemos el condimento en este caso sería el amor, y no hay nada para responder, pues él se queda ahí, no hay ningún fruto. Él habla que el amor nos dice cómo nosotros debemos de amarnos a nosotros. Cuando dice el Señor que Él hizo el hombre, hizo la mujer. Ayer reflexionamos, esa fue la última escritura, cuando Dios hizo al hombre y la mujer. La fundación del amor del matrimonio es el amor que va floreciendo día a día con esa unión del hombre y la mujer.
So, we look at love before Christianity, why love is very necessary, very important, but friendship very necessary for marriage, so that we understand that even before Christianity, that philosophers, people have thought about the need for friendship. So we begin by looking at what Plato told us. He said, friendship is the union of two persons coming together in mutual affection and remembrance of one another. And then he goes to say that a friend can do for a friend what he or she cannot do for himself. For instance, in your marriage, there are things that you don't necessarily like, but because your love, the one you called your love, the one you married, likes it, you do it for the person, because there is something just more than that. There is something that we do, and that shows that love is not an abstract thing. It's not something that falls from heaven. It's an action. It's something that we put into practice, but it needs somewhere to flourish, and that is what friendship provides. And love is a choice. You make the decision to love someone, and that's what manifests in friendship, that you choose this person amongst the so many people that you have seen, because you feel that you have the capacity to give the commitment that is needed. You are so convinced within you that this is the one, and because you have said this is the one, you do whatever it takes to be able to keep that. So we continue to look at what Aristotle said. He said, friendship is either a virtue, something good, or it leads to a virtue, which means we see that love is patient, love is kind. It's something you want to do. You have to want to be kind. You have to want to be patient. Even when the person that you love is driving you crazy, you want to do it. You want to be kind to the person, because you are so convinced and you have made that choice that it is the right thing to do. So he goes to say again that friendship is a necessity for a good life, because marriage is a very good thing, a very beautiful thing that God has given to us. So friendship leads to that good life. It leads to the commitment of two people coming together to be open to the gift of God through children or those that will come our way to help or to take care of them. Another person that told us something about this is Cicero. These names are fancy names, but the important thing is to understand how they are helping us to understand the need for friendship in our marriage. He says, coming together as friends requires personal goodness. It means that you have to have some good in you, which means have some God in you, because God is the good. And it is because of God that you want to choose this person for life. And so you come together because there is some goodness in you, and that makes you to come together because you have seen the good in that person. The good doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean that the person is free from mistakes. It means that there is God sitting in the heart of that person, and only good people can be true friends. You wanna?
Aquí estamos hablando sobre la amistad antes de la historia precristiana. Él dice que el amor y la amistad es algo que une al matrimonio. Plato dice que la amistad es la unión de dos personas en una afección mutua. Y cuando habla de eso, él está hablando sobre la amistad, esa amistad que nosotros tenemos en el matrimonio. Hay muchas cosas que nosotros no nos gusta de nuestra pareja o a veces que no nos gusta ir a hacer, pero como a nuestra pareja pues le gusta y eso lo hace feliz, pues nosotros para ayudarlo y para motivarlo, pues nosotros vamos y la hacemos, aunque no nos guste a nosotros. Pero eso es lo que es una amistad, una relación, un amor. Lo hacemos porque le hace feliz a nuestra pareja. El amor es una opción, es algo una decisión que tú haces. Tú tomas la decisión de amar a alguien y tú decides quién tú vas a amar. Y a través de ese amor tú estás convencido que tú vas a hacer cualquier cosa por el amor de esa persona. Aristóteles también habla sobre la virtud y que el amor es paciente. Volvemos de la paciencia, paciente, el amor es paciente entre la amistad, porque eso es un matrimonio, en el matrimonio hay una amistad. Uno quiere hacer todo lo posible para nuestra pareja, no importa quién sea, nosotros le damos el mundo si le tenemos que dar. El matrimonio es una vida buena, es algo que Dios hizo, un regalo que nos dio también el regalo de los hijos. También habló sobre la amistad es muy necesaria para uno tener una buena vida con cada uno, con nuestra pareja, con nuestra familia. Cielo también habla sobre cómo llegar juntos como amigos y eso requiere algo más personal, algo bueno personal de uno. Uno tiene que estar en buenas con el Señor. Todo lo que Dios hizo fue bueno, nosotros tenemos que estar bueno con Él, pero también tenemos que darle todo lo bueno a nuestra pareja y todo lo bueno en nuestra vida. Si damos el bien, recibimos el bien. Ser bueno no significa que somos perfectos. No estamos en la perfección de nada. Solamente estamos aprendiendo cómo ser amigos, cómo ser amistades y cómo mantener el amor en nuestra relación.
So we also look at friendship in the Christian history. And Augustine helps us to understand the need for friendship, because friendship is a gift of God and it takes us toward God in order for us to love our spouse the way God has intended us to love Him and to love each other. So he says disordered friendship, which means the wrong choices. If our friendship makes us make wrong choices, they take us away from true friendship and from God. If my friendship with you, if my marriage with you makes me to choose wrong and to make wrong choices and take me away from God, then it is not true friendship. And that friendship cannot sustain marriage. It cannot bring the joy of married life. So he says that the remedy to our present human situations and abuse of love and friendship is not to choose not to love, rather is to choose to love. That with the whole situations in our society, the abuses in the world, the hate, all the things that are not right, the remedy is not to become indifferent, to run away from loving. The remedy is to love as God would wish us to love. And that is what true friendship does for us. And he talks about that any friendship that takes us away from God or from the good is not a friend, it's not friendship. Because friendship should connect us with one another to the soul and to the heart where God truly dwells. And that is the way, because if we are depending our love for each other on the way we love ourselves, we will not be able to love unconditionally, because sometimes we don't even love ourselves so well. So God becomes the one that tells us and shows us how to love. Another person is Aquinas. Aquinas reminds us that we cannot be friends with people who do not communicate in words and actions. You know, if I see you and say you are my friend, you should be able to treat me as one. You should be able to treat me as a friend. So I cannot continue to claim you are my friend when I do not see or know or hear from you that you have accepted my friendship or that you want to be my friend. So that brings that marriage becoming a covenant is 100%. That you bring your 100%, I bring my 100%, and then we flourish together. Only business and contract is when I am your friend because of what I gain. So it's not important if you respond or if you accept it. The important thing is that I am using you, I'm gaining, but you don't need to respond. That is not true friendship. So that's what Aquinas, so he says friendship requires mutuality, which means the two people must agree and understand and give their best, relying on the grace of God. Because dependent on ourselves, we cannot love the way God wants us to love. So when one loves another with the love of friendship, we will the good. We wish them well. We do what will make them flourish, and we are not threatened by their flourishing. We are not threatened by them growing or by them progressing. Rather, we'll see their success as my success. Remember, two will become one. That's what the sacrament of marriage does for us.
Agustino dice que entendiendo la amistad es entender también a Dios. Algunas decisiones que nosotros hacemos equivocadas por cualquier manera que nos desviamos. Él dice que cuando las amistades nos llevan, nos alejan del Señor o nos llevan de los caminos bien y de todo, esas no son amistades que debemos de tener. Si en tu matrimonio tú estás sintiendo que esa es la situación que tú estás experimentando, debes de analizarlo de nuevo. Y no es bueno para uno mantener una relación buena y una relación de amistad como esa, que lo lleven fuera de ese acercamiento con Dios. Uno escoge el amor, uno escoge también quién uno quiere amar y eso. Y el remedio de eso viene de diferentes remedios, viene de diferentes partes. Y es todo sobre el amor y el amor que Dios tiene para nosotros y el amor que Dios quiere para nosotros. La amistad necesita que ustedes se conecten con Dios y conectar a Dios con ustedes. No podemos amar sin amarnos a nosotros mismos. Si nosotros tenemos ese rencor con nuestros corazones, no podemos ser limpios y no podemos ofrecer ese amor a nadie más. Dios es amor y nos enseña a amar. Aquinas dice que debes tratarme como amigo. Siempre en una relación deben de tratarse como amigo. pero si no oigo de ti, no sé si me has escuchado y si me has abierto el camino para hacer esa amistad, para poder compartir. Y ahí entra la comunicación también. El matrimonio es algo 100% y lo que los dos damos, no solamente uno una parte y el otro la otra parte. No es como un contrato donde uso solamente lo que necesito y ya no lo vuelvo a tocar ni nada. No es un trabajo tampoco. La amistad tiene que ver con mutuamente, es una amistad que se llevan mutuamente, cada uno de los dos en la pareja, en el matrimonio. Cuando nosotros amamos, hacemos todo por esa persona. Vemos su éxito como el éxito mío. Cuando vemos a nuestra pareja que sucede en su trabajo o que le han dado una promoción y de todo, eso es también nuestro quehacer.
So sometimes we wonder what are the kinds of friendship, because we see anybody will say, oh, meet my friend. That's what you hear. Meet my friend, whether they mean good for me or whether they only call me when they need me, just meet my friend. So there are three kinds of friendship, but only one of them is able to sustain marriage. The first one is friendship of utility, where the only thing that makes me to think of you as a friend is what I gain from you or what you can do for me. So when what you do for me or what I gain from you finishes, then I move to another person, or I don't care about you again. That kind of friendship doesn't need to be patient. There's no need to be patient with that, because only one thing is the agenda. Purpose is usage. So that's why you see people divorce easily without really walking through it and see if there's something they can do. Because why I married this person, she or he can no longer do what attracted me to him or her, and then I can walk out. And that's why you have seen in our time a lot of people cohabitate, not because they can't do something else, but let's keep trying, and then when what I need you for can no longer be provided, I can look for another person to bring in. So you see a lot of people breaking up for no reason, that when you think about it, that it doesn't make sense. So that's the first kind of friendship of utility. There's no need to be kind. There's no need to be patient with the person. The second is the friendship of pleasure, where there's no need to be kind to the person. I'm just here for him to satisfy me or for her to satisfy me. And once she or he cannot satisfy me, don't be kind. Don't even care about his or her emotion. Don't be kind to them. Just walk away or just find someone else to satisfy me. Those are some of the things that you see. And that point, people use each other as objects. There is no dignity of human persons in that regard. There's no respect for the human values, and there is no honor to godly principles. But the third one is true friendship. This is the one that is dependent on God. The one that understands that God himself is love, and that my friendship with you is connected to the soul, and not just your body, not what you can do, not what I can gain, and not how you can satisfy me. But because of God, I am committed to you, and I'm willing to be patient with you. I am willing to be kind with you. I am willing not to be rude to you, not to disrespect you, but to honor you and to cherish you. That is the friendship that is true, and that is the one that is dependent on God. This alone is the one that can sustain marriage. Aquinas tells us something. He says, there seems to be the greatest friendship between husband and wife because they are united not only in the art of carnal union, which produces a certain gentle association even among beasts, but also in the partnership of the whole range of domestic activity. Aquinas is trying to help us to understand that even animals can be friends with other animals because of what they do for each other. Nothing else. An animal can fight another animal if he can't have their way. But only a human person is capable of loving, and that's where when it becomes real what you promise during your marriage, in sickness and in health. In sickness and in health, it's only possible when the friendship is true and dependent on God. Because that is when we are challenged. That's when we depend on the grace of God. That's when we look beyond pleasure and utility and look at the soul and the heart where God dwells and where the connection that lasts remains. And that's where the conviction to remain committed no matter what stands.
Los tipos de amistades, la amistad de utilidad o de uso. En esta amistad no se necesita ser paciente, pues están solamente para usarse el uno al otro. Solamente pues cuando ya te utilizo, ya no te necesito, ya te echo para el lado y me muevo para la otra persona o para el otro cariño o la otra cosa que tiene. En el matrimonio no tenemos que usar esto, no debemos usar esto. Eso pasa mucho y hay a veces cuando ya no te necesito, ahí es donde entran los problemas, ahí es donde entran las otras amistades de afuera y de todo, o el pasatiempo favorito o de ese momento. En este tipo de amistad, pues como es solamente de uso, pues no tenemos que ser respetuosos a cada uno, no debemos de ser amables con cada uno, pues porque solamente es de utilizar a esa persona. El segundo tipo de amistad es amistad de placer. No se necesita ser amable, pues solamente se requiere complacerse a uno mismo. No tiene que ser bueno hacia un objeto. Cuando él dice eso, es solamente satisfáceme, a mí solamente y nadie más. Nosotros no podemos vivir solamente con esa idea de que nosotros somos los únicos que debemos ser satisfacidos, solamente yo, el yo. Debemos también de pensar en el demás, en nuestra compañero o compañera. Cuando nosotros usamos a cada uno de nosotros, no es en honor de Dios, no es paciente ni tampoco se respeta. El otro tipo de amistad es la amistad verdadera. En ese tipo es dependiente de Dios, quien es amor y tiene buen deseo para el que ama. Esto es lo que el matrimonio se basa, se sostiene en esto. Él habla también donde apenas dice, parece haber la mayor amistad entre marido y mujer, porque están unidos no solo en el acto de la unión carnal, cual produce una asociación gentil aún entre ganado, pero también en asociación de mientras varias actividades domésticas. Aquí él habla donde hasta los animales en el jardín se llevan con cada uno, en el bosque se llevan. Solamente la persona humana es capaz de amar y eso sale realmente en la unión de ese matrimonio cuando se casan. Cuando dicen en la salud y en la enfermedad, ahí es donde nosotros entonces miramos todo hacia el alma y todo el amor viene de ahí. Ahí es donde entonces miramos hacia Dios porque dijimos que en la salud y en la enfermedad, no solamente cuando estamos bien es que nos amamos, sino nos amamos cuando estamos bien, pero también cuando estamos enfermos. Estamos para servirnos y estar juntos.
So lastly, we look at the incarnation, the coming of Christ to us, what we celebrate in Christmas and what changes the history of humanity as the best way to understand what friendship does among married couples and how the incarnation becomes the most fitting as it is according to the supreme goodness God of the divine nature that he communicates himself. What actually does a couple do? They communicate the possibility of friendship with God. They communicate the reality that I can give you myself totally and accept you totally, with no reservation, with total commitment for life. And what did Christ do for us? He came to be among us, to dwell among us, to give us himself, and to accept us the way we are, hoping that we will be transformed to become the sign and instruments of his love among humanity. When you come together to marry your spouse, you are manifesting the possibility of the unconditional love that God has for us. The unconditional love that does not depend on what you do or what you don't do, but for who you are, an image created in the image of God, with no expectation, but with only hope. Sometimes the reason many of us get frustrated with our spouses is because we expect instead of hope. You expect him to behave this way, you expect him to smile this way, you expect him to laugh this way, instead of hope that he will understand that when you laugh this way, it makes me happy, and then keep loving him or loving her with the hope that one day he or she will respond to the love that you show to him or her. That is what the incarnation teaches, because through the incarnation, Christ communicates God, the love of God, to each other. Through your love for each other, you communicate life, hope, patience, kind, dignity of the human persons, respect, and they coming together to flourish as one community, as community of persons, and to grow your families into a domestic church where love becomes the only word and the only language that everyone understands. That is what the incarnation does for us, because through the incarnation we understand how God is self-emptying, how God is selfless. So by your love for each other, you give yourself, withholding back nothing. You become one with your spouse, holding back nothing. And when each of you give 100%, then you flourish together, and your life becomes a worship unto God. Your life becomes a liturgy, and your life becomes a small church that where faith is nurtured, where discipleship is learned, and where commitment to God and humanity is understood and lived. So, by your love for each other, you show the world that it is possible to have friendship with God. Because the society thinks it's not possible to love without expecting anything in return. But your love for each other, in sickness and in health, in richness and in poverty, you keep loving each other, trusting God, and also relying on His grace to help you to be able to live your lives. So what you do is greater than who you are, because you represent something that is bigger than just a man and a woman. You represent what God intends for His word and for His church.
Aquí hubo un poquito como que más de soy suave. En la encarnación, voy a leer un poquito de aquí. En la encarnación como manifestación de esa amistad. La encarnación es lo que se hace más y se hace realmente. Cuando pensamos en la encarnación, pensamos en cómo Jesucristo llegó, cómo Dios mandó a Jesucristo a través de la Virgen. Y eso, nosotros hablamos de comunicación. Realmente yo te doy todo de mí sin ninguna reserva. Eso es lo que es un matrimonio. Cuando nosotros hablamos, ponemos la encarnación entre el matrimonio. ¿Qué hizo Cristo al aceptarnos como somos? Como nos ha transformado completamente. En el matrimonio nos unimos con el amor incondicionalmente. No aguantamos nada ni dejamos nada hacia el lado. Nosotros esperamos cosas de nuestros compañeros, de nuestra pareja, al igual que ellos esperan lo mismo de nosotros. Al amarnos, eso resulta ser que algún día él o ella nos amará de nuevo, igualmente como nosotros lo amamos o la amamos. Ustedes hacen la comunicación de vida, de amor. Cuando se unen juntos, crecen como familia y como iglesia doméstica. Eso es lo que el matrimonio hace para ustedes. Nos entienden cómo es y qué grande es el Señor. Ustedes se convierten en uno, ya no son dos carnes, solamente uno. No aguantan nada ni dejan nada a lo escondido, porque ya todo ya está puesto al aire. Su vida se convierte en la liturgia de Dios. También su vida se convierte en la iglesia. Y ahí, en ese matrimonio, ustedes van a enseñar todo el amor que ustedes se sienten, no solamente a través de ustedes, pero la comunidad entera también ve ese amor que ustedes resaltan hacia ellos. Ustedes representan algo más grande que solamente más que dos personas en el mundo. Ustedes representan lo que Dios mandó hacer, el amor.
So my final thoughts for you to think about in your marriage is to understand that your marriage is a sign, an instrument through which God showcases His love to us. Through your marriage with each other, we have a glimpse, an idea of what it looks like to have friendship with God. Because marriage is a sign and an instrument. And through marriage between a man and a woman, you uphold the dignity of the human person. You uphold the value of a human person, a person created in the image and likeness of God. And that's what your marriage shows us. Because you respect each other, you are kind to each other, you are called to be patient with each other, You are called to respect. You are called to love unconditionally. No matter how wonderful you are, your basic and your primary vocation is to your husband or to your wife. And then your love, the love you have for each other, manifests in your children and the people in your household. If you don't love each other, and if you don't love God, it's difficult to love your spouse. Because you will be loving your spouse through a wrong lens. God is the only reason you can love even when the person is weak. And God tells you how to do it, not relying on yourself, but trusting Him. And that is why the sacrament becomes very important. Prayer becomes a powerful tool that you must have in order to succeed in your marriage. Prayer, rosary, adoration to the Blessed Sacrament, the Divine Mercy. These are ways in which you submit to God in order to love your wife so that your wife can submit to you. It's difficult to submit to a husband that doesn't love. If you love your wife, it becomes easy for her to submit. But you can't love your wife if you don't see her as your friend. It's difficult. If you don't see her as your friend, then it becomes difficult to love. You will struggle to like her. What you are called to do is to love your spouse. Likeness, okay, it begins with likeness. Because when you like people, when you just imagine your friend, I don't know about you, how many of you that have had friends for like 20 years. It doesn't mean they have not made mistakes that will make you to give up. But because you love them, not that you like them, you understand that you don't have to approve whatever they do to you or whatever choice they make. Because you understand that you just love them because they are created in the image and likeness of God. So my prayer for you is that you revisit, ask yourself, what is it that is preventing me from seeing my wife, my husband, as my friend? What can I do? Do I need help? Am I struggling? Who can I talk to? Who can help me? But the best person that can help us is God. So the first thing you do is to take it to God in your prayers and invite Him to come and help you to see yourselves as true friends, so that your love for each other will always be nourished. God bless you. So she will do the final.
Los últimos comentarios, él habló sobre el matrimonio es un signo o un instrumento hecho posible a través de la amistad. El matrimonio sostiene la dignidad de las personas humanas. El matrimonio no es materialístico. Por eso la amistad verdadera se convierte en una necesidad para vivir lo bello del amor del matrimonio. Algunas cosas que él habló fue que nosotros tenemos que ver cómo es esa amistad y tenemos una amistad también con el Señor. La dignidad de las personas, amar, respetarse, honrarse, eso son bien importantes en el matrimonio. El amor que tiene se manifiesta en su familia, en sus hijos, en todo lo que ustedes hacen. Si no tienen una relación de amor con el Señor, va a ser bien difícil amar y entregarse a otra persona. Algunas de las cosas que pueden hacer es oración, el rosario y la misericordia divina. Hombres y mujeres pueden amar a sus parejas y pueden someterse completamente hacia ella a través de estas oraciones. Si no ves a tu esposo o a tu esposa como un amigo, una amiga, no puedes tener una relación de amor con él o ella. Nosotros fuimos creados por Dios. Hay a veces que debemos de, si no se sienten que ese es el caso con ustedes, que han llegado a ese momento que ya no nos vemos como amigos, pues debemos de revisar de nuevo y visitar de nuevo qué es lo que nos está previniendo de hacer eso, qué es lo que me está aguantando de ver a mi esposo o a mi esposa como un amigo, como una amiga. Eso nosotros debemos de saber que Dios es el que nos puede ayudar. Nosotros se lo debemos llevar y ponérselo al altar al Señor en oración también. Invitarlo a que venga de nuevo a ser parte de nuestra amistad, de nuestro matrimonio, de nuestro hogar y eso.
Thank you.